How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello and welcome. Greetings. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. I feel like I should be yelling at you. Get off my lawn, my fellow Americans. Get off my... Good Lord. We'll obviously get to the State of the Union. The phone number, it's an open line Friday, 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. Okay. First of all, one small housekeeping note about it being an open line Friday. So I was on the phone on a Teams call with Gordon from A Store down in Jacksonville. We were getting to know each other and get a text message out of the corner of my eye, and it is my producer's family, and he is sick. Again, so he, pulling the curtain way back more than I should, but, you know, he's in his 40s and he's got 2 young kids, and he's living the life that I lived in my mid-30s. When he's in his mid-40s, where the kids go to school and they come home and they bring home every botulism and plague known to man, and mom and dad get sick. Well, he's going through that. So we have an open line Friday, and God bless her heart, she decided she could come in and answer the phone. She's not here yet. We hope Charlie will survive, and I apologize. I'm getting to know Gordon at A Store. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to leave. I got to go remind myself how to cut up my own audio and video to be able to do my show today and find a call screener. But we got it taken care of. Just don't call yet. The phone lines aren't open, but it is an open line Friday. We will get them open. But that's okay. I wasn't going to take your calls right now anyway, because we got to talk about what happened last night. The President of the United States, he goes to Congress to give the State of the Union. I will give you my take first on the Republican response. I personally, now I know it worked for some female friends of mine, but for most, that they immediately looked at the optics that I did and were like, why are we putting a Republican woman from Alabama in the kitchen to give a response at a time the president is making a big deal out of in vitro fertilization and the like? I thought the optics, they were trying to do this whole be relatable, have a conversation from your kitchen sort of thing. I don't think it worked. And it was very Tracy Flick. If you ever saw that movie with Reese Witherspoon, very like creepily, overly ambitious. Whoever does the State of the Union response never does a good job. There is one exception the Republicans should have gone with, and it's political malpractice that the Republicans did not allow Donald Trump to give their response. The Republicans should have had Donald Trump give their response. He tried to do a real-time running commentary, and Truth Social crashed. They should have let Donald Trump do the response. They should have. It would have been entertaining, would have been way more entertaining than Joe Biden's speech. The media would have had a conniption fit. They would have cut away from it. The Republicans could have cried foul and further discredited the media and their coverage of the campaign season. The Republicans should have let Donald Trump do it, and they did not. Having a Republican woman from Alabama in her kitchen give a very creepily ambitious response was a bit much. And I don't know, by the way, that's her. I don't know the senator from Alabama, but I'm sure they told her, like, you got to be relatable, but you got to be ambitious. You got to be caring, but you got to be tenacious. And you're trying your best to fit all this together, and it just didn't come across well. It did for hardcore partisans, of course. Oh, they liked it. But I try to look at this stuff as how is like the person who's not a political junkie from the right going to look at this stuff? And I don't think it worked. And I don't think Joe Biden's speech worked for that matter either. But Joe Biden had a different goal, and Joe Biden's goal, I personally think Joe Biden's goal worked. Now, I need you to follow along with me here because I know how people's sensitivities are in the election when they perceive I'm saying something nice about Joe Biden, and I'm not, but you have to actually listen thoroughly to get the point I'm trying to make, and to get it, We need to begin with a key moment, and that was at the beginning of the speech. This is Joe Biden at the beginning of his speech.
Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time. Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. But Ukraine...
Now, pay attention here. This is coming up. This is an important point.
Ukraine can stop Putin. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that it needs to defend itself. That is all. That is all Ukraine is asking. They're not asking for American soldiers. In fact, there are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine, and I'm determined to keep it that way. But now, assistance to Ukraine is being blocked by those who want to walk away from our world leadership. It wasn't long ago when a Republican president named Ronald Reagan thundered, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Now, my predecessor, a former Republican president, tells Putin, quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." That's a quote. A former president actually said that, bowing down to a Russian leader. I think it's outrageous, it's dangerous, and it's unacceptable.
Okay. There's a point of me playing this excerpt. First, it's notable that Joe Biden, the number one issue that Americans care about, the number one issue is immigration. And one of the top 5 issues is Israel. And where did he start his speech? With attacks to democracy, abortion, and Ukraine. And then he got to potato chips and Snicker bars and shrinkflation before he even got to immigration and Lake and Riley, and he mispronounced her name. We'll get to that. The purpose of Joe Biden's speech last night was not to persuade independents. It was one of the most partisan State of the Union addresses we've ever seen, including all of Donald Trump's addresses. In fact, it was much more partisan than almost every one of Donald Trump's. The purpose of Joe Biden's speech last night was to show Democrats he's got what it takes to go the distance with Trump. That was the entire purpose of the speech. I don't know what drug they gave him, and let's be honest, Joe Biden ingested or was given something intravenously. Listen, it is not a conspiracy theory. It is the God's honest truth. The man ingested cocaine, a B12 shot, steroids, Hunter Biden's cocaine, something to be up past his bedtime, to be that aggressive, and to yell the whole speech through. Every line was yelled at America. He had taken something to show the Democrats he could go the distance. This was about consolidating the Democratic base. That's why he started with democracy's under attack. Nobody in Scranton, in San Antonio, in Orlando, Jacksonville, Tulsa, Dayton, Atlanta, anywhere is sitting around saying, oh my gosh, democracy's under attack. They're worried about their 401k. They're worried about illegal aliens. They're worried about local services. They're not worried about democracy, and they're not worried about abortion. They're not worried about Ukraine. That's where he started, because that's what Democrats are concerned with. And Joe Biden has to show the Democrats he can go the distance. Shut up about Michelle Obama. Shut up about replacements. Shut up about me dropping out. I'm not going anywhere. Don't do the Lyndon Johnson comparison to me. And I think on MSNBC, it was a pre-gamed spin for this morning. This is Joe Scarborough and Michael Beschloss. You know, this is the anecdote the White House wanted. Beschloss, you will remember, is a guy who has sit and spoken with Joe Biden at length about his historic vision and where he should go. Joe Scarborough regularly meets with Joe Biden, according to the trades. Listen to this. This is by design, y'all. Remember, who watches MSNBC? The hardcore Democratic base. And who watches Morning Joe? The political elite of the left in Washington, D.C. This is all messaging to all of them. It's time to shut up and get in line.
He's been defeating the odds his entire life. This has been a recurring theme, Michael, for us, where Joe Biden's underestimated before Iowa.
Right.
He's underestimated before and after New Hampshire. He's been told he's too old since 2000. He just keeps surprising people. He just keeps winning. He just keeps outperforming. I have no doubt that every Republican in that chamber was shocked by what they saw last night, because he did it to them again. As Newt Gingrich said, at some point we'll figure this out. He said this after the 22 election. Democrats always underestimated Ike. They always underestimated Reagan. Now it's us. We always underestimate Biden.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. And who does that remind you and me of? And that is Harry Truman in 1948. You know, the beginning of that year down to the summer, even Democrats were saying, Truman is a loser. We better find someone else to run for us. Is there any way we can get rid of this candidate who was in his mid-60s, which was considered very old at that time? And so Truman had a new voice when he came to the convention that summer, got up and said, I and my running mate, Alvin Barkley, are going to win this election and make those Republicans like it.
This was all by design. They wanted the Truman comparison. And of course, MSNBC, the propaganda ministers for the Biden administration, gave them exactly what they wanted. Here's the problem. This will consolidate the Democrats, but Joe Biden just had a massive, massive audience that tends to step away from the speech after about 30 minutes. And what did he serve them up? Nothing about his domestic agenda. Nothing relatable, nothing about immigration. He served up in those first 30 minutes, abortion, Ukraine, and democracy is under attack. This was designed to tell Democrats, shut up, get in line, I'm going nowhere, start using the Harry Truman comparison because I'm going to be like that. And they will. They're going to fall in line. They will rally because Joe Biden was able to give a speech where he did not turn into a human Roomba, which he usually does. Here's a problem, though. That's not sustainable. It is not sustainable over time. You've got 8 months. Here's what's probably going to happen. We're not going to see a lot of Joe Biden over the next several days as he recovers from everything they gave him to hop him up on Thursday night. We're not going to see a ton of him. He says he's going to hit the campaign. Well, let's see how much campaigning he does, and let's see how with it he is on the campaign trail. One speech is not 8 months of speeches. It was good for him, and he did what he had to do. The problem is he also made mistakes. And, you know, I'm not a huge Marjorie Taylor Greene fan. But Marjorie Taylor Greene deserves credit. She's the one who threw him off his game. It begins with a confrontation ahead of time where she gives him the Laken Riley pin.
Right behind him, and I believe that's a hat that says "Make America Great Again."
A MAGA hat, and then there are buttons that we understand that some Republicans will be wearing. Talking about the border, the Biden border crisis.
Riley, say her name. And then we have this moment. Say her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border.
We can stop it there. First of all, you should know that UGA, the University of Georgia mascot, has not killed Lincoln Riley of the University of Southern California. The condoms are safe at the University of Southern California. He's safe. Lincoln Riley, he's safe. Laken Riley, however, was murdered by an illegal. And what's notable is for Joe Biden to use the word illegal. But then how many Americans are killed by legals? He tries to turn Laken Riley into a statistic to minimize her death there on stage. And he wouldn't have except for Marjorie Taylor Greene pressuring him, saying, say her name, giving him a button with her name on it. He held up that button. It threw him off his game. And after that, the speech went off the reservation. It's remarkable, too, the President of the United States wants to send the American Navy to build a pier in Gaza to help Hamas and he won't send the American military to the border to secure the border. And this is why the speech fell flat for everyone else and will not pay long-term dividends and will largely be forgotten by everyone else, because the speech was designed to placate the Democratic base. It accomplished that mission. The problem is that in accomplishing that mission, Joe Biden alienated independent voters who were looking for signs that he gets it. And instead, he wanted to blame corporations for smaller Snicker bars instead of accepting that he himself played a role in this, and his policies that he announced are only going to make it worse. This is a Pyrrhic victory for Joe Biden. He won the battle and he's going to lose the war. He won the battle for the hearts and minds of the progressive left last night. He had to get them to fall in line. He accomplished that. But ultimately, I think 8 months from now, he loses the war because he alienated everyone else and sent a signal that he has no intention of trying to get these people back to consider him. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I am delighted to have you. One more bit of audio here to play you. This is the Chuck Schumer spin on Joe Biden.
I've been to a whole lot of these speeches, but I was so excited by how Biden presented himself and what he said. The speech showed that America is strong and Biden is strong. And anyone who sat in that room would have no doubt that Biden is ready for a great second campaign and even more, a great second term. He was filled with focus and enthusiasm for doing the things he truly believes in, helping the middle class, making America strong. And the contrast with Trump, who wants to give in to Putin, Trump, and he said it directly without mentioning Trump's name, who lied about the election. When he mentioned lying about the election, you should have seen the Republicans' faces in the room. They all looked down. They were sullen. They were sullen the whole speech, but they knew he was telling the truth and they were going along with a big lie. So the contrast, the strength, and the focus on the middle class, we Democrats walked out of that room exhilarated. This is the Joe Biden we know. This is the Joe Biden we're going to see over the next 6 months on the campaign trail, and this is the Joe Biden we're going to govern with in a Democratic House, Democratic Senate, Democratic president in 2025.
Again, the point here is that Joe Biden needed to use his State of the Union to message to Democrats, not to the rest of us. That's why it was a success for him and a failure for everything else. You need to understand that before we can move on to the rest of the substance here. But first, I got to tell you about Vision Computers. Listen, so I got this question, and I want to re-clarify this. Let's say you're a small business and you've got a bunch of PCs in your office, but you didn't get them from Vision Computers. It's okay. For just $179 a year, not a month, a year, Vision Computer can do for you what they do for their own customers. Thousands of 5-star reviews on their technical support. So your employees can actually be proficient and efficient at their jobs, not at keeping their computers up and running. All they have to do is call Vision. They'll get a special number. They can call Vision, answer their email questions, printer support. They can even remote in many cases and help you. But also you can buy computers from Vision, laptops, desktops, servers, you name it. They're great. They give you a great deal, and you don't have to pay the $179. But pay the $179 a year, not a month, a year, and Vision will take over your IT support. They're a great company. You should do business with them, any one of you nationwide, individually or your business. VisionComputers.com, VisionComputers.com, or 404-COMPUTE. 404-COMPUTE. Call them and tell them I sent you. You get an even better deal. 404-COMPUTE. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. Delighted to have you guys with me, and God bless Ann. She has made it in since Charlie's in the sick bed. So the phone lines are now open. Open line Friday here, 877-973-7425. By the way, if you text the word data to 33777, that not only will I send you back a link to my daily email that you should subscribe to, but also, and you'll get a discount on the subscription, also you can pre-order my book. We're getting close to the launch date in July. It gets ever and ever closer, and it looks good. I got a pre-release copy. You Shall Be as Gods: How Secular Gnosticism is Becoming Its Own Religion. You Shall Be as Gods. So text the word data to 33777 and get all that. Now, I gotta fill you in a little more on the State of the Union, but first I need you to know Guy Benson, my buddy over at Fox, is telling people on Twitter that CNN refused to air an ad yesterday before the State of the Union. It's one that MSNBC was willing to air. Fox News was willing to air it, but CNN declined to run this ad. You need to ask yourself why.
Laken Riley should have been able to go on a run in broad daylight without being murdered by an illegal immigrant. But Joe Biden promised not to deport illegal immigrants.
Should that person be deported?
That person should not be the focus of deportation.
Biden vowed not to detain illegal immigrants who cross the border.
No one would be put in jail while waiting for their hearing.
So when Jose Ibarra crossed into America illegally, he was not deported. He was not put in jail. Biden also supported sanctuary cities.
Should undocumented immigrants arrested by local police be turned over to immigration officials?
No.
So when Jose Ibarra was arrested in New York City for endangering a child, he was freed a second time. Ibarra went to Georgia, where he beat Laken Riley to death. How many more killers has Biden set free? Building America's Future is responsible for the content of this advertising.
CNN, according to Guy Benson, wouldn't run the ad. Fox and MSNBC would. It is a powerful ad, and it certainly set the stage for last night. Now, here are problems that you need to understand. I want to talk about the theory of the race. Let me step back a little bit. I'm not just talking out of my rear end. Some of you think I am. I got called wishy-washy by someone yesterday on social media. It's like, I am many things, but that I am not. I was a political consultant for a number of years while also being a lawyer. I ran federal, state, local races around the country. I've actually got a very good win record. I've won many more races than I've lost. And it doesn't matter whether you're running a local race, city council, county commission, state legislative, statewide, federal race. It doesn't matter. Every race comes down to a theory of the campaign, a theory of the race. And each side has its own theory, and that theory then shapes the themes of the race and the campaign message and the campaign strategy and the tactics deployed therewith. So what is the theory of the race? So here's my theory of this race. My theory of the race is that Americans were promised normalcy by Joe Biden, and they turned away from Donald Trump because they lived in existential dread every day that he would mean tweet his way into World War III. And January 6th was the culmination of that chaos, and people were ready to move on to Joe Biden and give him the benefit of the doubt. And then Joe Biden came into office, and all of the chaos that the American people thought they would get from Donald Trump came to fruition with Joe Biden. Not only that, Joe Biden wrecked the economy. Joe Biden promised people a return to normalcy. He gave them progressive insanity. Joe Biden promised he would keep Americans safe, and he made us less safe. And Joe Biden promised a restoration of economic growth, and he made Americans poorer. So the theory of the race at this point is that there's not a lot that Joe Biden can do. There is a great deal that Donald Trump can do to lose the race, because Americans are kind of set. They placed their bet on Biden that he would be better than Donald Trump, and it turned out to be worse than Trump. And so they are ready to go back to Donald Trump. And the only thing that will stop Americans from going back to Donald Trump is Donald Trump. So Joe Biden's strategy must be to force Donald Trump out of his basement this time instead of Biden out of his basement, and give Donald Trump copious exposure to rekindle the feelings of anxiety that Americans had when Donald Trump was president, and remind them that they don't want to live for 4 years feeling that anxious. That's my theory of the race. Joe Biden's theory of the race is different. Joe Biden's theory of the race is that democracy is on the line. Abortion rights can be used to persuade women to vote for him. And black and Hispanic voters must be reminded Donald Trump is racist. That's the Democrats' theory of the race. Democracy is on the ballot, abortion rights are on the ballot, and Donald Trump's a racist. I want to be very careful with how I say this because I don't want it to blow up in my face, and I don't know that I'm capable after suffering through that speech last night. But with half a brain tied behind my back, unlike Rush, not voluntarily, it's just Joe Biden broke part of it in his speech last night, and it's recovering. Let me delicately say this to the Democrats. Black and Hispanic voters will be fine with someone in the White House they perceive to be somewhat racist if that racist is giving them good jobs and not undermining their security in their neighborhoods. People vote for safety over freedom. People will vote for a biblical donkey over a saint if the biblical donkey is going to keep them safe and keep them employed. The Democrats today are championing incredible jobs numbers. In fact, the jobs numbers today actually look really, really good. Massive surge in jobs, growth totaling 275,000, but unemployment rose to 3.9%. Now, here are a couple of things you have to know about that incredible jobs number. The last 7 or 8 jobs reports were revised downward. Every time they come out with a big number, the next month they revise it down slightly. And also, these aren't full-time jobs that are being created. It's multiple part-time jobs. People take multiple part-time jobs and the government counts them as one full-time job. That's why the data looks good to the Democrats that we have all these jobs, but to your average working American, it looks bad because they're all part-time jobs and you're having to go from job to job and get your employers to try to match hours and match schedules so you have a day off, and it is stressing people out. And the Democrats are talking past that and they're ignoring it. The theory of the case for the Democrats is that they can convince Americans that if they return to the existential dread and anxiety of Donald Trump, it'll be bad for them. But what Americans think is while Donald Trump gave them existential dread and terror and anxiety, right now working 3 part-time jobs to make ends meet and still not being able to buy a house in Joe Biden's economy, let alone buy groceries, is a problem. Yes, Americans are concerned with shrinkflation, but they kind of understand that if they kept buying the same size roll of paper towels, the price would go up. And they don't blame the corporations of Americans for that. They know it's not corporate greed. They know it's Joe Biden's economy. And Biden had an opportunity last night to reassure Americans he gets it. And instead, he decided to attack the corporations and attack the wealthy, attack the rich, attack the taxpayer, attack the hard workers of America. And by the way, make it clear again that he intends to bail out upper income, college educated people on the backs of the working class. And that is why his theory of the case ultimately is wrong, because he needs black and Hispanic voters to go vote for him. But black and Hispanic voters disproportionately lack the college degrees that upper income white people have. And they're pissed off and mad as hell that they got to bail out these upper income white people of their college degrees in puppetry arts and women and gender studies. That's why this falls flat for the Democrats. When Cyrus of Greece stormed into the Italian peninsula to fight the Romans, he sent in 25,000 people and won a battle against the Romans and lost almost everyone. It was commented afterwards that if they kept winning like that, they would lose. He had to withdraw. It's called a Pyrrhic victory. You win the battle and lose the war. Joe Biden had to win the battle for the hearts and minds of the Democratic Party last night. He had to do it because there's a growing chorus within the Democratic Party saying Joe Biden doesn't have what it takes to maintain this campaign. Joe Biden's not going to be able to handle this campaign. Joe Biden doesn't have the stamina. Joe Biden doesn't have the strength. Joe Biden doesn't have the mental faculties to do it. He put them at ease last night. But in the process of putting them at ease, he did nothing to woo back Black and Hispanic voters. He thinks he did, but he didn't. He didn't bring working class voters to him. He alienated people in his need to pick up progressives. That's the problem for Joe Biden now, is the base of the Democratic Party that he needs is actually more out of touch with Americans than the Republicans are. And it's not that the Republicans are particularly in touch with the middle class and the mainstream of America. The stolen election stuff, only the hardcore Trump supporters care about the stolen election crap at this point. Everybody else cares about safety, security, illegal aliens. You got all these people belly aching about their conspiracy theories over the election on the right. People care about the illegal aliens. People actually care about crime. People actually care about jobs. People actually care about the economy. People actually care about their kids getting a good education. And the hardcore bases of the left and the right aren't talking about that sort of stuff. They're talking about their fringe conspiracy theories on both sides. The problem for the left is that their fringe conspiracy theories get amplified by a media that is increasingly as out of touch with America as the Democratic partisans of the progressive left are. And people go looking for someone else. And here comes Donald Trump, who, when he's not talking about the stolen election, is reminding people that they didn't live under the fear of muggings and murders and mayhem in the streets when he was president of the United States. And unlike Joe Biden this time around, it's Donald Trump who gets to hide in the basement. It's Donald Trump who gets to sit off to the sidelines and stay out of the spotlight as best he can. And every time Joe Biden gets in the spotlight and flubs and turns into a human Roomba and shuffles off the stage in multiple directions, unable to go, and stutters and stammers and hems and haws and goes off the reservation on the teleprompter and loses his train of thought, people are more and more reminded that the State of the Union was a cheap stunt to help the Democrats and get the Democrats to fall in line, and not actually a convincing, commanding performance from a man who's too old to be president of the United States. Jerome Powell is testifying in Congress, and he is raising the specter again of bank failures. He says he doesn't think that they will overwhelm the economy. He doesn't think that they will destabilize the economy, but he is concerned about regional banks beginning to collapse in this country because of commercial loan lending that has gone south on them. That's where Swiss America comes in. They've been sounding the alarm about all of this in the economy, and they want to help you protect your hard-earned assets right now. You should go talk to them, see what they can do to help you build a stable portfolio that's not going to go south on you like these regional banks. Sure, they'll get bailed out and they'll get merged in, but what about you? What about your portfolio? Swiss America can help you. 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. Call or text my name, Eric Erickson, to 800-289-2646. Get to know Swiss America. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Help them, let them help you build a portfolio that's going to withstand these crazy times. 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com/Eric, ERICK. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, delighted to have you with me. It is an open line Friday as well. I know a lot of you want to chime in on the State of the Union today. We don't have a lot of time here, but I do want to squeeze in one phone call. First, I got to tell you this hour is brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. Across the nation, if you are a business and you're looking to grow, you see opportunities and your current lender is giving you the runaround, First Liberty makes their own lending decisions, and they have since the 90s. They're going to be around for a long time. Reach out to them. Spend 10 minutes with them. See if you're fit for them. If you need $250,000 or more, FirstLibertyGA.com is the website. Get all their contact info. FirstLibertyGA.com. Dwayne, you're going to be up first today. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Eric. I'm a big fan, and it's nice to get on the show. Thanks.
Thank you.
Now, when I woke up this morning early, and I didn't want to turn the TV up too loud because my wife was asleep, and I was watching the highlights of the State of the Union, and what I noticed was the Speaker of the House in the background as Biden would say something, and he would get these incredulous looks on his face, or he'd put his palm to, maybe he didn't put his palm to his forehead, but almost. and it was just almost hilarious. He looks a little like Alfred E. Newman, I think, and it was just funny.
He was all of us last night. Yeah, it has become a meme online today. What I thought was notable is at the beginning when the president was talking about we need to stand with Ukraine, the speaker clapped and some conservatives got upset with him and were eating him alive. But then for the rest of the night, everyone was like, oh my gosh, his facial expression is my facial expression as he's sitting by there rolling his eyes, shaking his heads and kind of smirking at some of the dumb things and untrue things Biden is saying. It really has become a meme today. He was all those. I want to tell y'all, last night to make it through, I sat in my hot tub with a cigar, got a fire, Carlito from Fuentes, and a glass of Basil Hayden toasted bourbon. And I watched that speech, and all I could think was, oh, Lord, please make manifest the bottle of bourbon from inside because I am now out and the speech continues. And God did not humor me. And I had to sit there and suffer through this because I told you people yesterday, you didn't have to listen to it. I would take one for the team. My buddy Calder, he texted me last night. He says, I heard what you said on radio. He says, you can watch this thing for me. And I had to text him back and say, please come here because I am out of bourbon and the speech is not stopped. But he lived too far away to help. My cigar lasted till about the last 15 minutes or so of the speech. But it was a painful, painful thing. I gave fleeting thought to drowning myself to make it all go away, but I didn't. I took one for the team for you guys, and I watched the angry old man yell, get off my lawn for an hour and a half last night. And then, he stuck around talking to members of Congress so much, they actually dimmed the lights to get him out of there. Literally, he stayed longer than even Bill Clinton used to say. Bill Clinton would set records for lingering afterwards, shaking hands with everyone. With Biden, he lasted so long they turned the lights off because they had to get to Katie Britt's speech, which was completely immemorable. All of this will be forgotten by Monday. The only lingering thing for Democrats will be, do they still think he's got what it takes to run the campaign, which is what they're hoping. We got to move on to other stuff. I will take your calls on it, though. 877-973-7425. As always, you can text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get all the live stream, podcast, social media links, everything you need to follow me around the series of tubes known as the internet. We'll be right back.